I talk about death all the time, and I'm talking about ego death, so both ego death and our own death, so our own real life mortality. And both is important because, ego death, that is the death of the living in ideas, so not living in reality, but living bound by ideas. You're imprisoned by ideas. Your belief about yourself or of the world is limiting your life. And also accepting that you're mortal. Real life death is an actual possibility every day of your life. And some of us don't quite realize our mortality because everybody's fine around them. And it's not until one of your friends dies that you go like, okay, this is real. Like, any of us could die at any given moment. I've had many friends die over the years. I think when I was 19, 2 of my friends died within a year. So they were older than me, but only 26 and 28. One of them died in an avalanche, so a snowboard avalanche, and that hit me extremely hard. So I had post-traumatic stress disorder after that because I was 19 and, an idealist, and then all of a sudden my friend, he was like a little bit of a father figure for me as well, because he was really nice to me, he was a really kind person, and then all of a sudden he died snowboarding. So what connected us and what we both loved and what we both did. And I could not deal with his death. Like, I dragged his death on for ages, like for years and years. So like there would be certain songs or certain moments, and I also, like, I expected him at certain events, and so I never actually accepted his death. So my response to his death was making up some sort of story to make sense of it. But there was no sense of it. My friend died. Like, he did something dangerous, and we all did this dangerous thing, so like that's why it was so relatable. We all played around in deep snow, we all played around off-piste, so we all knew the dangers. But then finally one of our friends died, and we were like, oh my god, this is so real. Like, this is, one of your friends is no longer there, and it's hard to deal with. I'm speaking about this not because I want to talk about the first person that died in my life, but like the difference in how I'm handling it. So unfortunately, this past month, in my life, two of my friends died. So one of them died of cancer, and one of them died in a motorcycle accident. So within a very short period of time, 2 people that I knew died, which, it's hard. It's this is real life. Like, it's not fun. Like, someone you thought you're going to see every day, or you'll see him there, and all of a sudden they're gone. And it's really hard for us to process, especially as, well, where I'm from. So like, I live in Europe. We don't, I've never been to a funeral with an open casket, or that, like, never seen the body, which sounds like a bit perverted right now. I'm gonna explain it in a minute. So when you don't see the body, you don't connect the person that was alive, and then you see their dead body, so the shell without the life that you loved, like the essence of the person is no longer there, just the shell. And when you are able to do that, you have a little bit more, I know it sounds gross because I always said I don't want to see the dead body, but it gives you a bit more closure, so it helps you deal with the death a little bit better. I'm saying this specifically because well, so, well, first of all, so when my friends died, like, of course I'm sad, like, I cried, you know, it's a shock. I feel sadness, I'm going to mourn. Like, I shed a tear for my friends, like, it's a normal response. It doesn't, you know, it's sad. Like, you're no longer gonna, like, this person no longer has a chance to live and have fun, and you no longer will have a chance to share moments with them anymore. So, you know, it's sad, like, that this happened to them. And, like, they're always the nicest people as well, like, always got, like, you know, I have so many, like, good stories to tell about them that inspired me. Their way of living inspired me. So the big difference now, so obviously I'm not going to say it's easy to deal with someone dying, because it is the worst case scenario. There's nothing worse than your friend dying. And with this new mind state, or with this mind state of living in the present moment, it was a lot easier for me to accept their death. So you accept life as it is. So even though I didn't see their dead bodies, it sounds so macabre, but I'm gonna qualify this in a second. So it was easy for me to, like, so in my mind, when I was told, I would remember, like, there would be like a little bit of a movie, let's say, of different situations where I interacted with them, and then I accept their death. This was it. And I accept that that was the last time I saw this person. This was the last time I had a chance to interact with them. And another thing that is beneficial with this mind state of living in the present moment is that I have a tendency to express my love for my friends rather frequently. So I make sure that the people around me know that I love them, or I appreciate them, or just in case they die, or I die, or just in case I don't have the opportunity to see them again. And this is one thing that I highly appreciate. And people think it's weird at times, but, like, if people near you have died all of a sudden at a young age for no apparent reason, more or less, you sort of have a different sense of your own mortality and your friend's mortality. So it gives now with this new mind state, sadness, because I'm sad for this person, you know, that their life has ended. Yes, but also the more overwhelming feeling is gratitude, that I was privileged to get to know this person. I was privileged to meet this person, even though they spent a very short amount of time on this earth. So it's a completely different way of seeing life. So it's not an egoic downward spiral or stress or drama. It's gratitude to be privileged to meet them. And I distinctly remembered, like, as I was going to sleep, like, I more or less not forgot about it, but in the present moment you don't think about it. And as I'm going to sleep, as Krishnamurti says, die to yourself every day. I noticed myself thinking of them for a second, or like, I always have a film, so I don't think in words, or I don't talk to myself. I see an image in my mind, and then I see a few images, and then I say thank you. Thank you that I was privileged to meet you. Thank you for the things that you did. Thank you for the things that you have shown me. Thank you for the ways you've helped me grow. And to be fair, like, you don't, in case someone close to you has died. One argument that I always, if someone's upset or sad or down because their friend's dead, I always try and tell them, like, look, if there is a heaven, if there is an afterlife, which I don't believe in, but they're sort of like, they're still hanging on to the idea of this person and not quite accepting that they're dead and not dead. So I always say, like, look, if they were looking down on you, would they want you to feel the sadness, or would they want you to live your life because they have lost their chance at living? And it makes sense. Like, to me, death always is a screaming, live your life right now. I have to mention, I had a situation where I was staying in an Airbnb apartment, and the person that I lived with died. And I didn't know he died. He was very young, he was 42. And he was in his bedroom and the bedroom door was open, so I thought he wasn't there. And it took a while before I realized he was there. And he was no longer alive. I walked into the room and I saw someone he had a dog, and the dog took a shit in his room. The dog was actually trying to alert me to the fact that he'd passed away. And so the dog took a shit in the room for me to walk into the room, because I wouldn't otherwise walk into somebody else's room. It's a matter of respect for me. Anyway, so I walked into the room and I was shocked because there was somebody laying on the bed. And I was like, oh, that's exactly the reason why I don't walk into someone else's room without their permission. And as I look, like I was just trying to pick up the turd on the floor, and then I looked over and I thought he was asleep because he was laying in bed. And then as I looked closer, I was like sort of weirdly, like I was trying to leave, but I was weirdly transfixed by his arm, because it looked like he had a silk cloth laying over his arm. And I was just looking at it going like, what the hell is that? And then my brain didn't want to accept what it could see. So it made up this fantasy of this silk cloth, because as I looked closer, I realized the arm was black. So he was very clearly dead. Like the blood had settled in the body. And so I was literally faced with real life death. So I was actually looking at a dead body. I did panic for a second because I thought he'd been murdered, as he was 42 years old, and I just saw him alive and he was fine and everything. Like he didn't look like he's just about to die. And it was something else. So I was a bit stressed, and it wasn't that easy to deal with, but it was easy for me to accept it. And the one thing that I said before about looking at dead bodies, so I always used to say my biggest nightmare would be finding my roommate dead. So I found my roommate dead because everything I say, that's my worst nightmare. Eventually it happened in my life. So I found him dead, and I didn't see his whole body because I didn't go close enough, because I thought it was a crime scene, because it didn't make sense that he was dead. He looked so alive when I saw him last. So I backed out of the room and called the police, who then thought that maybe I was suspicious, but they said it was a natural cause of death. And I never saw his face, so I never went close enough to look at his face, because I was afraid, or I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't quite realize it was him, because I don't know, it was like it didn't look like him anymore, and that's because he was dead. And so I didn't go up closer to look at him, and I had the opportunity to then look at him, to identify him, and I chose not to because it's pretty scary to go in and look at a dead body, which I regretted because even though I didn't know this person that well, he was a really nice guy. Like, sad that, you know, it was a sad situation. But even though I didn't know this guy, a year later I came back to Barcelona. I was in his neighborhood, and it wasn't, my mind didn't go like, oh, this is where I found the dead body. My mind went like, oh, maybe I'm gonna see this guy here. Like, I'd like to see him again. Like, it would be nice to talk to him again. And then I went like, what are you talking about? He's dead. And then I'd realized that so he wasn't a close friend. So I thought that there's not much for me to accept, which was wrong, because it doesn't matter how close you are. If someone dies, you need to accept their death, no matter who it is. So I didn't do that. And if I'd went in and if I connected the dead body that I saw to the mental image that I had of this person alive, I think I may have, made myself accept his death a lot quicker. So fully accept his death. So I sort of accepted it, but I fully accepted it. I think it would have been easier for me to fully accept it. And that's why I'm sort of going into, I'm living in Europe, because in Europe it's different than in other countries. In Europe we try to keep them away, we try to make everything more safe. But in Austria, where I grew up, as a child they still did that. They would display the dead body so you can say goodbye to them. But it's sort of changing, because now it's like unsanitary or whatever. You know, now death is sort of hidden behind, you never see the dead body. And I'm just saying this not because I'm macabre, not because I want you to be traumatized by a dead body, but I'm trying to say it's your mental image of this person alive is then connected to their shell of their dead body, and it helps you to move on. And all I can say is, well, was like, from now it's changed to, as soon as there's death, it gives me an added impulse to live. So I sincerely hope or wish, or I don't know how else to communicate this, because the sadness, the mourning, the dragging it on in your head, it's weighing you down, it's the ego pulling it along, and it's so much easier for your life to accept their death and see their death and relate it to your own mortality and realize that I'm going to die. So this may be my last day on earth, and that's sort of how I'm living my life. Like, every day is sort of the last chance at life, my last chance to tell this person I love them, my last chance to do this and that and the other. So some people think it's weird that I keep talking about death, but I always go like, I'm going to give this day my all, which is especially useful when you have MS, because I'm in a lot of pain, I don't have much energy, so when I do things it's rather hard for me to get out the door. And I always see it as like, this may be my very last chance, and this is pretty much every day. So when I see someone and I'm happy to see them, and I'll tell them and I'll show them and I'll give them my all, because maybe there's no tomorrow. I don't know. Who knows? So mourning and dragging it on, and it's like, I'm sorry I'm being harsh, but I'm just trying to express how it's been so much easier for me to deal with death now than, these were my friends, so not a husband, but it's still the same. It's about death, and it's about your mortality. And sometimes I think to myself, I wonder if the best people die young. Like, my favorite were the most, the people with the most character and like bonding and lust for life. Like, pivotal members of my friend groups, like, why did the pivotal members die? Like, why? So sometimes I go like, I wonder if like they're just sent here. I'm joking because I don't believe in anything, but like sometimes I go like, maybe they're just like, showing us like, hey, anybody can die right here, right now. So please live your life right now. It's your life. You're in control. You have full agency. So get out there and live. So I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry if I'm sorry if I'm being harsh. I'm just trying to express the difference in how I dealt with death back then as a 19-year-old, and how much easier it is to deal with death with a present mind when you can just accept what is. There's no, oh no, why, oh no, sure, it's just, he's dead. And like, that's it. Like, there's nothing more you can do. All the ruminations, all the mourning, all the sadness, it's weighing you down. It's not bringing them back to life. There's no need to keep them in your memories. Like, there's no need to hold on to them in your memories. Like, that's only weighing you down. As soon as you see something that reminds you of them, it'll be a positive experience, and you'll go like, oh, that reminds me of blah, blah, blah. In a positive way. He loved that. She loved that. They like doing that. So, and every person I meet gives me an impulse. Every person I meet teaches me something. So every person that dies, I'm grateful that they help me grow in a certain way, no matter how little interaction we had, in a way. It's, it's life. We all are gonna die. And the sooner you accept that, and the sooner you see that, okay, I may die tomorrow, what do I want to do on the last day of my life? Then it's a completely different mind state. There's no weight, no expectations, nothing. So, yeah. It's not fun. Like, of course not. Like, it's the worst thing that can happen, but I don't know if this is like, I always find or search for, I don't know, I always look at their life, and the first thing that screams at me is what they taught me. So I always feel like, I don't want to say I feel gratitude for their death, but as soon as they die, I go like, oh my God, I was so lucky to have met them. And this is such a difference to mourning and sadness. It's like, how fortunate was I to meet this person? And then, telling stories about them. Hey, my friend died. Oh, he was the best guy. He did this, and this. Oh, and also they teach us how easily we die. Like, my friend that died in the snowboard avalanche impacted the way that I was snowboarding, because I was more careful, because I knew you could die. Then I knew, before it was like a fairy tale, or like what my mum threatened me with, but not reality. But as soon as he died, it was reality, and I was like, oh my God, we can die doing this. So it helped me grow in my life. So thank you very much for listening, and much love. They would want you to live your life to the fullest. They would not want you to be weighed down by their death. So get out there and live, and be grateful for what they like. All you need to do is find gratitude for what they gave you, not what you are missing. That's egoic. Like, just go like, thank God he was there, or she was there, or they were there to help me see this in my life. Yeah. So thank you very much for listening. One love.